Hey guys, I'm Caesar.
And I'm Hector.
And you're watching Kaizr Tech. Today on episode 1 of Kaizr Tech, we're going to be showing you guys how to build your own PC from the ground up.
So this will be my first PC, as you can see right here, and we're going to show you step by step how to do it so you can do it at home.
Alright, I hope you guys enjoy the video and come along for the journey to experience it yourself. Our build today will be featuring an ASUS GeForce GTX 1060 Overclock Edition graphics card, an Intel Core i7 6700 CPU with the stock CPU cooler, 16GB of T-Force Dark DDR4 RAM, an ASUS H110ME Micro ATX motherboard. For storage, we have a Sandisk 128GB solid state drive, as well as a Western Digital Blue 1TB hard disk drive. To power it all, we have a 500 watt 80 plus bronze semi-modular power supply. And to case all of this, we have an AeroCool Aero 300 black mid-tower case. Let's start with the motherboard. Guys, it's important to keep your board on a non-conductive surface. We placed ours on the box it came with. Let's grab the processor. There's a gold arrow on the corner that will line up with the arrow on your motherboard. The CPU also has grooves that lets your processor only sit in one direction. Make sure you just set it down without applying any pressure. Close the bracket and push down the lever. The lever will give some resistance, so don't be scared to apply some force. Let's move on to the thermal paste. Most CPU coolers will come with thermal paste, but if yours doesn't, you need to purchase it yourself. When applying the paste, I prefer the pea-size method. You just dab a pea-size amount on the top of the CPU. Now let's slap the CPU cooler on. This is an Intel stock CPU cooler and it's very easy to install. Just line up the screws with the holes and apply pressure until you hear it click. After your cooler is mounted, connect it to the motherboard where it says CPU fan header. Next up, the RAM. Locate the RAM slots on your motherboard. Just like the processor, the RAM can only go in one way. Disengage the latch and set the RAM in. You should hear a click when it's set all the way in. Now for the I/O shield. This should come with the box that your motherboard came in. Make sure you align it the right way because the holes need to line up with the motherboard inputs when you mount it in. After setting the I/O shield, you're ready to install the motherboard. Most motherboards have 4 to 6 screw holes. Ours happens to have 6. Some cases tend to come with standoffs pre-installed. If not, there should be standoffs that came with the case that can be used where needed. Set the motherboard in and make sure it aligned with the standoffs and the I/O shield. It may take some fidgeting to get it right, but once aligned, go ahead and screw in. Next up, we insert the power supply. Some cases house the power supply in different places. Ours happens to insert from the back. If your power supply is semi-modular like ours, it would probably be best to plug in the wires before mounting. Now comes the sexy part, every gamer's favorite part, the graphics card. Like the RAM, disengage the latch before inserting into the PCI Express slot. Look at the back of your case to see where the graphics card lines up. If needed, remove any panels to allow the GPU connections to show. Push it down until you hear a click, then screw in to secure. Next comes the storage. To see where your solid state drive or your hard drive mount, make sure you refer to your case manual. Our solid state happens to mount inside of our case next to the motherboard. Our hard drive mounted in through the back next to the power supply. Make sure to screw in and secure both drives. Next, go ahead and connect your SATA cables to both drives. After plugging them in, go ahead and set them aside and we'll handle them later. Now comes the tedious part, wire management. Every case has different wire management options and every motherboard has connections in different areas. It's going to be up to you guys to find the best routing option. In our case, we went ahead and fed our front panel wires through and then our power supply cables. If done correctly, this will give your PC a really clean look. We can now plug in the front panel wires into the motherboard. We recommend that you refer to the motherboard user manual to clearly see where every wire goes. Our best advice is to look at what is labeled on the wires and plug it into the corresponding connections on the motherboard. Make sure you install the small speaker that should have came with your case. This is used for future troubleshooting purposes. Last up is connecting the fans, SATA cables, and the power supply cables to the motherboard. Make sure you connect the 24-pin and the 4 to 8-pin cables to the motherboard, the 6-pin cable to the graphics card, and the SATA power cables to the hard drives. Take the SATA cables that we connected to the drives earlier and connect it to the motherboard as well. Lastly, connect your case fans to the fan headers on the motherboard. At this point, you can go ahead and plug your computer in and turn it on. Once your computer turns on, if it is connected to a monitor, you should be directed to the BIOS. At this point, you just need to install an operating system and you will have a working computer. We will show you how to do this on an upcoming episode. Remember guys, we strongly recommend that you always refer to your manual because not all parts are exactly the same. This video is just a general guide to help you with the process of building your first computer. I hope this video was helpful guys. Make sure you drop a like below and subscribe to our channel to get notifications of our future videos.
And if you have any questions about your first build or any future video suggestions, make sure you leave it down in the comments.
And until then, see you next time.